there typically an agenda? This is the...
Yes. is.
Okay. Are we ready?
Wow.
Okay. Everybody ready?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Good evening. The hour of 7 p.m. having arrived and passed. Apologies once again for our tardiness. I call to order this agenda-setting meeting for the Woodland Hills School Board for the month of August 2018. Ms. Pugh, will you call the roll?
David Graves.
Here.
Shorty Seligson. Present. Jeff Hanchett. Ava Johnson. Ronna Curry.
Here.
Jeff Hildebrand.
Here.
Paige Strasbaugh. Here. Mike Belmont.
Here.
Jamie Glasser.
Present. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Next week we'll accept the minutes for the July meeting. There was just the one meeting in July, so we will accept those minutes next week. The board did meet in executive session this evening to discuss security, legal, and personnel matters. Does anyone have any announcements? Okay. I'll note that our community day will be held on August 18th beginning at 10 a.m. at the high school. In addition, there are a number of community days coming up this weekend and next weekend and the weekend following. So I would encourage everyone to check your community calendars for those events. Lots of exciting stuff happening there, including the big event in Braddock this week to open the Civic Plaza, the traditional fireworks in Edgewood in a couple of weeks, Rhino Rankins is next week, and also Churchill and East Pittsburgh this weekend. So those will happen. Okay. We have no student speakers this month because they're not in school. But we do have a presentation this evening. Ms. Landers is here from the Juvenile Justice Partnership to talk with us about that project and the progress there. Welcome.
Probably.
Move it out.
Good evening, everyone. I think some of you actually were on the board last April. I think it was when I first came out to talk to you about the School Justice Partnership Initiative. My name is Marcia Landers. I'm an attorney in juvenile court. Before working in juvenile court representing kids who were dependent and delinquent, I was a high school English teacher in Pittsburgh Public Schools. One of the connections between my job as an English teacher and an attorney in juvenile court is that I was representing kids in court for things that, as a teacher, used to be handled by the vice principal. And I think a lot of you can relate to that kind of evolving situation in our country, which is understandable in the sense that Columbine happened and then people armed up. And that arming up was understandable, but it turned out to be to have some unintended consequences. So those consequences have, over the years, shown us the connection between school arrests, and you're going to have school arrests if you have a lot of police in the schools, because not every day kids are shooting each other up. So when the police are there, they're there for the reason of, we've got to do something. Teachers were happy to have police officers there because it was a way for them to say, you know what, I'm here to teach. I'm not here to deal with all of this. You all deal with that. So that was becoming more and more common. What happened after that is something that none of us can really disagree with, and that's called data. The data has begun to show the connection between school arrests and poor life outcomes. So a kid who's arrested is twice as likely to drop out of high school than a kid who hasn't been arrested. But the other poor life outcomes are higher rates of incarceration, poverty, homelessness, a general sense of wasted human potential. And all of that can be tied to a number of things, one of which is the experience of having been arrested while in school. So a strategy emerged over the years to address that situation, and it's a collaborative effort between the courts, law enforcement, education, and mental health. That collaborative effort is known widely as the School Justice Partnership Initiative, and it's now in a number of states. I think probably 38 counties was the last I heard across the country, but I believe that number is dramatically higher now. When these partnerships were formed, the data started to show that they were seeing improvements in things that schools care about. The graduation rates, in one school in Georgia, one county, graduation rates increased 20% after the School Justice Partnership was implemented. Attendance went up, academic performance went up, disciplinary referrals went down. So it's not a magic bullet. Obviously, the schools are able to do so much, but we still have poverty and racism and trauma that the kids are coming to school with, that the School Justice Partnership is not equipped to address fully, but it's a way of at least taking those incidents that previously were harming life outcomes and minimizing that effect. So the School Justice Partnership is basically a way of saying, police officers, you're going to use your resources for serious school crime. You're not going to use your resources for low-level offenses, minor infractions. In Allegheny County, the person who's spearheading our School Justice Partnership is Judge Woodruff. He took a team of us to Georgetown University a couple of years back. That team has been working with Woodland Hill School District as our first partner. We've now expanded our partnership to a Pittsburgh public school, and the expectation is that we will be spreading this partnership effort among a number of school districts. The partnership has moved from an initial series of meetings, primarily with your former superintendent, assistant superintendent, and other administrators, some of whom, in fact, Don Holden is here, and Don was part of the group that traveled with us to Philadelphia to see how they're implementing their program and see the kind of benefits that they're seeing from that project. At this point, we have developed the primary document. And the way I think to envision this is there's the vision, and then there's the plan that brings it to life. The vision is expressed in the memorandum of understanding, but it's also the roadmap for bringing it to life. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't share with you the fact that the Borough Council President from Churchill, Mr. Bourne, met with Don and me a little while ago and wanted to express the concern that we all share and that I want to share with you, and that is that we have in place 90% of what we need. Yesterday, we put the closest we've come to the finishing touches on that MOU in this sense. We have met with the police chiefs who will be implementing the program when it's actually up and running in the schools. From Churchill and Rankin and Swissvale. And those chiefs looked at the MOU initially and said, you know what, your definition of offenses that will be eligible for this diversion is not specific enough for us. So yesterday we met with the chiefs again. We took specific offenses that have been lodged against students over the last 3 years as part of the data that Allegheny County Juvenile Justice collects. And we went down that list of offenses and asked the chiefs for their input on whether they agreed that certain of these would be eligible for diversion. And we got that agreement. We're now in the process of taking that list of eligible offenses and matching it up with, aligning it with your school code so that we don't have any conflicts in how incidents are being perceived and the level of involvement of the police as a result of the incidents. The overall view of the School Justice Partnership for, I think the most general appreciation for it is this. It's two-pronged. One is pre-arrest diversion, and the second one is behavioral health support network. So the pre-arrest diversion says if this is a low-level offense, then it's not going to be addressed by police action. And if it is an action that is based on certain things besides just being an adolescent, those needs will be addressed by the behavioral health network. It will look at the root causes, and it will do so in a way that is restorative in nature. So there will be victim offender dialogue, there will be healing circles, there will be accountability letters, there will be ways of having the young person experience the effect of his or her behavior in a way that leads to them growing into more productive, mature adults. The person who is going to address you tonight with me, Bridget Clement, is the Executive Director of the Communities in Schools. She's overseeing the really well-developed Providers Council, which will handle that second prong of the School Justice Partnership. So the bottom line is that we are at a point where we're on the verge of implementation, but it will be a matter for the people with their feet on the ground, people who work in the schools and serve kids, to develop the specific, well-defined plan that will show how this enlightened and desirable policy will actually be implemented. And I think that's something that all of you are aware of and are up to the challenge for holding people's feet to the fire to develop that. So with that, I will finish up, but offer to answer any questions any of you might have.
Does anyone have questions for Ms. Landers? I have one, which is only to inquire as to who it is that you need to be in touch with in terms of the people who are going to be on the ground, and what conversations do you need to have at this point to move forward for that last 10%?
Yeah. So before I answer that, I'm sorry, I just remembered one important point. When I mentioned Judge Woodruff earlier, one of the things that the folks who are working together on this here in the district with us have all agreed is that we need to have a sincere outreach to the community. And so we have planned a meeting with Judge Woodruff and members of the community, the school district, political activists, the students, in order to allow everyone to understand and to question and to give input and insight. So that's something that is our next step. We actually have Judge Woodruff set to do that. We just have to get contact information and set a date. With regard to the people who need to be involved with that, developing the implementation plan, I would think that really is a matter for school administration and district administration to determine, because we can only do so much as far as advising on the framework and what other districts have done across the country. And by way of an example, when the chiefs here express concern about not having specific offenses listed in the MOU, we arranged a conference call with a judge in North Carolina who was on the Georgetown faculty, and he walked us through, in the offer of technical assistance, how to proceed to that next step, which resulted in a meeting with the chiefs yesterday. And not just the chiefs. Dr. Woods was there, Assistant Superintendent of Police and Lands, communities and schools, Bridget and Tanya, Don and I, and our Assistant Chief Probation Officer, who is also involved in this. So I would say that it's really going to be your decision about who in the district would be the most appropriate people to develop that specific
Okay.
All right, thank you for your time, I appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay. All right. I don't see either of our registered speakers in the audience, so we will move on to board matters. And let's see. Jenna?
He would read this. You want to read this one?
Yeah, I can.
Read that one?
Yeah. So.
Go to the next one.
Okay.
Okay.
So under board matters, we have just one tab, 2.1, which is the approval to hire a superintendent to be named at a salary to be determined. That tab will be filled in next week. And that'll move us. Are there any questions about that? I think that would require an executive session, but I don't see any. So that'll move us to curriculum.
Okay. 3.1 curriculum, to request approval of the Woodland Hills School District Pre-K Counts Child Care Collaboration Agreement with Heritage for Kids Early Learning Center pending solicitor review and approval.
Any questions on that tab? Seeing none. Move to personnel.
Section B. Angel, if you can, I need you, I'll call you. Okay. Section B, authorization for retirement resignation. Section C, authorization to hire professional staff. Section F, authorization for EDR mentor actions. And Section G, authorization for miscellaneous. Anything else there? Is that correct? And we'll provide that documentation to you for next week. Any questions on that? Okay. 6.2, approval of the contract services with PA Educator for a period of July 1st through 2018. To June 30th, 2019. PA Educator is a service that school districts in the county use to look for prospective teachers. It's an online system. You want to add anything, Angel?
We renew every year, same time. We receive the bill in July. We go on for August 14th.
And it's really effective in looking for those hard-to-fill positions based on certification and in locale. So it's a good program.
Okay, that'll move us to food service, transportation, and safety.
Okay. To request approval of the 2018-19 bus driver list.
Any questions on that?
This may not be related. What's the status? Do we know?
Siobhan's not here.
Yeah, I gotta say, I don't see her here.
I thought she was here. We had some bugs, but they seem to be worked out now, and she's hoping tonight she can get everybody on a bus. And we'll have some good reports to look at tomorrow.
Okay.
No, we're looking good. This is part of the audit, state audits. These first two, 9192.
Right. But I was saying, how many drivers are we short, do we think? Or
I don't know. Let me
That's,
get it.
what are you going to say, 10? Is that going to make any difference to the list?
I don't know if it's going to...
Well, right now we're not short any because school's not started. When school starts, then we'll be
That's right.
There you go.
Just saying that, you know. Hopefully we won't be short at all, right?
Hopefully not. We do have 3 bus companies that we do utilize.
Right.
And I haven't heard where...
We could try to find that out.
They haven't brought them back yet. They haven't...
She'll be here next week, too.
I don't think they're coming back till next week. They're having the orientations next week when they bring them back, and that's when they find out who's coming back. And
Maybe we can get an update of committees at the latest on the status of that. But
she's on.
okay.
Okay, request approval for the 2018-19 school bus stops. And that's a bus stop list that it's attached. It's about a 5-page document.
Okay. Any questions on that one? You can review the stops at your leisure and draft the routes over the next week.
9.3, to request approval for extending the contract with Yellow Cab Company of Pittsburgh, Incorporated, Z-Trip for the 2018-19 school year.
Any questions on that?
This will be a renewal. They provide a stopgap student transportation.
Do you have an idea about how much we spent on that last year?
Siobhan is here. She may know.
I know, I'm sorry.
Not off the top of my head.
Okay.
I'll get it.
Okay. So any other questions on 9.3?
Sorry, I'm over there working.
We appreciate that.
I just asked if we're You had an idea kind of how many drivers we might be short, or if we're
No,
good?
we've
Or,
not had any welcome back meetings yet. There
Okay.
actually one is starting tomorrow, and then there's a couple scheduled next week. So, the garages schedule them at different times.
Sure.
You know, each week, so they'll see who shows up at the meetings. And
so then how did we generate a driver list? We haven't had.
we were instructed to use the
Last
one
year's
from
list.
the end of the
Ending.
school year.
Okay, that's what I was trying to dance around, but I just
It's one of those.
That's what we were
Okay.
instructed to do.
okay.
Okay.
by the school.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. That'll move us to 9.4.
Okay, request approval for the purchase of a fleet 2019 Ford Transit passenger wagon from CoStar's vendor Kenny Ross Ford. The cost of $35,700.80, budget from the general fund. Mike, I'll...
Yeah, we had a discussion at the during the budget process, and as you can see, there's been a savings in the notes. I think it was about $10,000. Was it $10,000 I read in the one? Per year, basically.
$10,000.
So it'll pay for itself in 3 years, and it'll last longer than that. I mean,
The van we presently have, I do believe, is a 2008 one we've been using, and it's just provides room for 7 passengers plus a driver. This one will be, 9 passengers plus a driver, which then helps us to use it for more programs. There's been times when they just need room for 1 or 2 more kids for things like bowling, track, or some are smaller sports. Because that's a lot of gifted trips and things of that nature.
So we're hoping this will alleviate the need to use an actual school bus.
Right.
This is always going to be our first go-to versus
Or
paying
when
the-
it can be used that way, yes. And the teachers and coaches, they contact me to reserve the vehicle, and if it's available, they want to give it to them. And oftentimes we do have multiple people asking for the same day, so
now we'll have to.
now we'll have to.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you. Okay.
Sorry, didn't mean to drag you in here.
That'll move us to buildings and grounds.
Okay. To request permission for the use of facilities by the outside organizations for the 2018-19 school year. If you go to your tab there, there's several requests that we'll ask you to approve for next week.
Any questions on that? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on.
That's good, because that's always usually a hot button
Actually,
where I
it-
came
it
from.
is
but
here
I,
too.
I try to go right through that, but open my mouth. Okay.
Dr.
I'm just curious why Central Catholic and Seneca Valley are using. I mean, they're paying for it. That's cool, but I'm just curious.
Central Catholic, they use, what is it, the South Highmark Field?
Yeah.
And
that night.
Highmark has
An event that
it has an event that night, so they couldn't use it. So they will, they asked us.
They use Highmark for football.
Yeah, that's our home field.
I didn't know that field was okay. That's cool.
Yeah, so they asked us if they can use ours, and they agreed to the rate we set. It's a little bit less than what they'd be paying there, but
Okay. Any other questions?
No, that was.
Okay. Seeing none?
10.2, request approval for Wayne, I hope I say this right, Schwegel Upholstery to reupholster Wilkins' main office furniture and the nurse's furniture at a total cost of $3,960. This will come from the Capital Reserve Fund.
Any questions on that?
All right, I'm about recycling, but is reupholstering cheaper than getting furniture? For the, I mean, I don't know how much furniture we talking
Mr.
about.
Finney
but-
stepped
Finney
out.
is here.
I know
Mr.
he
Finney has
has-
stated that it was cheaper than buying new furniture.
He had.
He had looked into it.
He had some.
I can
Yeah.
speak to that, Jeff.
I think you were here when he spoke to
Yeah,
us. Yeah.
the deal was the furniture itself is very sturdy, built to last, but the
Okay.
The upholstery itself was in disrepair.
Okay.
And if he comes back in, Mr. Hilbrand, we'll ask if you want to ask any questions for him at that point. 10.3, request approval for the repairs of the water main to the high school by Mealy Mechanical Plumbing Contractor at a cost, I guess that's...
We're still waiting for
We're
the
still
cost.
waiting for that.
Yeah, we had a water leak at the high school that they finally came in and found. It was in the dirt area between Braddock and the driveway. and there were actually 2 leaks in the 10-foot section of pipe that they replaced. That's the second leak we've experienced in the last 2 years with that water main. We own the pipe from Braddock to the high school.
Of course.
That's over the hillside, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Behind the guardrail.
Yeah, it's behind the guardrail area, right over the guardrail. So it's 60 years old and starting to show its age. The trouble with this was it's down below 28 feet.
Yeah.
It's not like 10 feet down, 8 feet down like normal. It's 28 feet deep.
Which is amazing. It was that deep.
Oh, that drop off is pretty significant off that driveway there. So.
No, that's how deep they had to dig coming off, because it does. I just couldn't figure out why it was that deep in the dirt itself. So I don't know.
Okay.
But, so if I don't have a cost by then, because they're still working on the bill, I'd still like to have it approved this way.
One good thing, it didn't happen in the winter.
Yeah.
I always try to look at that thing with rose-colored glasses on, but it's bad, but it didn't happen in winter, which probably would have upped the cost a lot more because of the frozen tundra there. So. 10-4, request approval for Reynolds Construction LLC Amendment Number 1 to the Construction Manager AIA Agreement to modify the duration of the administration services to October 2019, an additional cost of $67,000, pending solicitor review and approval. And I believe that's an attachment as well.
Since we extended the construction time by 2 months, there's 2 months additional CM management fees.
This is for the Dixon project?
This is Dixon.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. So that'll get us to the January 2020 expected completion?
October 2019 is the...
okay, got it.
Yeah, that's the substantial completion. November would be final completion, and we're moving in December.
Gotcha. Okay. Any questions on that? Okay. Moving on to school finance.
Okay, school finance. 12-1, request ratification for the bill list for invoices paid after July 18th, 2018 legislative meeting. Those will be posted. They're posted now. 12-2, request approval for August 2018 bill list as noted. So are there any questions on those or any of those items?
Okay.
12-3, request approval of the 2018 fund reports and student activity reports for informational purposes. Again, that's 2 attachments as well to that document.
Any questions? Okay, seeing none.
Okay. 12-4, request approval of the investment reports for June 2018.
Any questions? Okay.
Request for approval of the C.C. Mellor Memorial Library annual contribution of $11,000.
Any questions on that? Okay, seeing none.
And finally, under Finance, 12-6, request approval of the Eastern Area Schools Joint Committee 2018-19 budget and mail ballot.
That is a holding place. They normally get that to me like the day before the meeting, sometimes the day of the meeting. So if it's here, we'll have something to vote on. If not, we will
Do it in September?
move to September.
Is that the sunrise piece?
Yes,
Yeah,
that's the sunrise.
Yeah, okay. Very good. All right, moving on to Assistant Superintendent.
So I'll do that as well.
Please.
Sure, happy to. 13-1, request ratification of the UPMC Sports Medicine Athletic Training and Physician Services Agreement for $23,000 budgeted from the general fund pending solicitor review and approval.
Any questions on that?
I did speak to the solicitor as well regarding that, and they have reviewed that agreement. So.
Is that what percentages of the full salary are we responsible for?
I believe it is a little less than half. That's my recollection.
I'm not sure.
I'll have to see if I can get
But
that.
I don't.
I thought it was a third.
I'm not sure.
Our share is $25,000, I believe.
23.
23. Okay.
23.
Actually,
Okay, great.
actually, what this should read is a 3-year, because the agreement's a 3-year.
Okay.
That was actually my next question. Is
Yeah,
that
it's
there was that 23?
It raises.
It goes through July 18 to June 30, 2021.
The dollar amounts are on the contract.
Is it 23 a year, or is that the combination of all? That's the
No, wait a minute.
combination
Let me get down there. $23,000 for 18-19, $24,150 for 19-20, and $25,357 for 2021.
Pretty good deal.
It's on page 19 of the attachment. So let me modify that. Put 3-year agreement.
Does it say what share it is though, Mr. Gigliotti?
Right.
I mean, that's their fee.
Yeah.
That's their fee, which is, for what you're getting, is an excellent bargain. You know?
Yeah, I was just under the assumption, like Jeff, that sorry, Mr. Hilbert, Dr. Hilbert, that that it was a third. So I was looking on number wise. I'm thinking of the comment.
If you would like, I could find out. I could call the UPMC and find out for you. I can do that. By next week. By next week, I'll find out for you.
We need them, so it doesn't.
Yeah, I will check for you then.
In any case, it's a significant savings over what it would cost us to employ a secondary trainer of our own. Right, because we're not, we don't have PSERS or benefits either. So, but I'd still like to know the answer to the question, though.
I could find out.
Yeah.
One of the other things too with going, I know you guys have used UPMC before in the past, but one of the things that does for your student athletes is it gives them access to doctors, especially orthosurgeons. If there's an incident or situation, they sort of go to the front of the line because you have an agreement with UPMC. So it is a pretty good deal. I know we've used it in our program as well. So my former district. So we didn't use UPMC, we use AGH, but the same thing. They have those agreements. So. 13.2, request ratification for the Reaching Back Consulting Services Agreement for the summer boot camp for a total cost of $5,000 budgeted from the general fund.
And that is a ratification because the program is slated to begin on Monday,
yeah.
I believe. So, okay.
Reaching back, I don't remember this. What is, can you elaborate what this is? Reaching back boot camp?
If you look to the attack, are you asking about, I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. Of course, just stepping in and sitting in on Friday's meeting, this was something that Alicia talked about. I think there were about 40 children or so that would be serviced by this program. Really a great way to interact with some kids and build some relationships and try to ward off any issues. I'm not sure if anyone else had any information on that. But they would work with, again, some students that were defined early on. At-risk children.
I think it's going to start next week.
Yeah, next week.
Like that.
Yeah.
This is part of the restorative justice
model.
I guess, the program, one of the programs under it.
Yeah, I think there were a couple of emails that came from Ms. Lentz as well. So we can resend those to get the additional information out about it. So.
And 13.3, request approval for Alicia Lentz as a school safety and security coordinator per Act 44. Again, that's a new legislation that was just passed. That all school districts are required to have in place a school safety and security coordinator. It's just a position, one of the other many jobs that she'll, I'm sure, be happy to take on. That's a tough one. But.
Any questions on that? Okay. All right.
I have no report.
Thank you. Is there any old business? Any new business? We will not have reports this month because the committees did not meet in July. But a reminder that we will meet in committee not next week, the week after. So that's 21st and 22nd of August in our committees on that Tuesday and Wednesday. Which moves us to public communication. Is there anyone who wishes to address the board at this time? Please. Reminder that you have 2 minutes to speak. Please give your name and address of residence, and any questions that you pose to the board will be answered following the meeting. Thanks. Welcome. Thanks for being here.
Hi, my name is Joan Stone, and I live on Princeton Place in Swissvale, and my property borders the Dixon School. Want to thank you for the opportunity to speak to you and address some concerns that I have. Myself and my neighbors have had the privilege and sometimes the bane of our existence to be bordering the Dixon School for ups and downs. We've had issues related to trash that we've called, that we pick it up, people cursing in the parking lot, things of that nature. But I think what I want to draw your attention to is the renovation project, which you are well aware. When it was announced that the renovations would occur, we had the neighbors that are up against that parking lot of Dixon School did not receive any type of communication from the school. We weren't aware of any kind of timelines. I don't know if that's something that you did address during school board meetings, but when I started asking around, it seemed that there was not a timetable for some of the issues that we're now facing. One is that we used to park in the back of the school, and that was something that we, my neighbors and I, enjoyed doing because our street is very small. Show of hands, who has been on Princeton Place Extension? Okay. So you are aware that certain evenings there are multiple cars and there's an issue trying to get down the street. So some of us park in the back, go through the two little alleyways that are back there. So I have expressed that to the borough as a safety concern. We understand with the construction that it's no longer safe for us to park back there. We're very aware of that. We are aware that any type of construction is going to bring the requisite noise and dust. That has sort of marred my use of the backyard. Again, we understand that. The biggest issue that has occurred and that occurred today was the placement of the trailers that the construction company is going to be using. The trailer that is primary to their endeavor is right in my viewing of my backyard. So it seems within a whole parking lot of trees that will not be blocking any of my neighbors or garages that will also not be blocking the view, the decision that the trailer is right there is of concern. So I'm wondering if that's something that you could talk to me about and see if we can come to a mutual resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. Garnica Reed, 134 Leniki Street, Wilkins Township. So I want to again mention how I do not want police in the schools. I spoke with a parent of a student. Actually, with this parent, I helped them retain an attorney because their child was charged with an assault on a police officer charge in the high school. And that was because the police officer was breaking up the fight and got hit. And it wasn't on purpose. Okay. So that child got probation even though it was, mentioned that it wasn't intentional. Okay. So one, I feel like that's irresponsible. And even, I was even told that the judge did not understand why, with no real harm to anyone, why that child was even, why the case even got that far, but they still, convicted that child basically. I have a child who's about to be 18. Okay. So if that happens to an 18-year-old, I'm guessing they go to the county jail, right? How about we use some common sense and get them out of this school? They don't care anything about these kids. I'm sick of saying the same thing over and over again. Like, it's ridiculous. I should not be worried about my kid going to school. Right? And no parent should have to have an attorney for their kid to go to school. Like, it's irresponsible. Churchill Borough is irresponsible. And then they allow their police officer to stay in that building. And it's not just one police officer. It was multiple ones in that school with being charged with misconduct. No, well, not even being charged. Like, our system's broken, and it's mostly your fault. Like, get rid of them. Like, I'm tired of being scared of sending my child to school. He never gets in trouble. But if someone has nothing better to do with themselves and they want to get some extra money or whatever the deal is, they can charge my child. That's not fair. And we know it's black kids and it's kids with disabilities who are mostly being charged with that. I'm sick of that. You need to get that together.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the board at this time? Seeing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
I mean,
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Thank you all. See you next week.